a beginner build an anime body in Blender? Honestly, wasn't sure. This was my first time to make one. But if I can get a decent result, maybe you can too. Let's jump in. After finishing the head, it was only time for the body. I start with an 80 vertex circle for the neck and keeping the vertex count low and make the shape easier to control and give me a cleaner mesh later on. I place it where the neck should be, delete half of it and add a mirror modifier. That way I only have to work on one side while keeping everything perfectly symmetrical. Next, I add another circle for the shoulders. And one more for the waist. Then I join everything into the single object. At this point, I'm not thinking about the detail at all. I'm just building a simple framework for the body, kind of like sketching the guideline before the drawing character. Now I start extruding this shape and connecting them together. I connect the shoulders to the neck and began shaping the chest area. To make those connections easier, I added a few supporting edges. Without enough geometry here, the surface would scratch too much and become difficult to control later. I also added a few supporting loops around the waist so I had more control over the overall shape. Moving to the back. I add a loop cut so both sides of the shoulder can connect properly. A few extra cuts here give me a much better control over the back shape later. I also realized the waist a little too narrow, so I make it slightly larger and move it forward. A small adjustment like this can make a huge difference in the final result. For the chest, I use an 80 by 80 UV sphere. I delete half of it and place it in position. The exact size depends on the character design, so I spend a bit of time matching the reference. Once it's in a place, I start connecting everything together and filling the surrounding area. Right here, I noticed something. The shoulder circle is way too small. So I scale it up and move it back a little. This happens all the time during the modeling. Sometimes you only notice proportion problem after the structure starts coming together. At the first, I think everything looked fine. Then I noticed a problem. The upper chest is completely flat It's one of those mistakes that easy to miss at the first, but once you see it, you can unsee it. Around the sternum area, this should be a subtle transition and a bit more structure. So I back and fix the geometry. I fill in the gap with a one large face. I divided the area into the small section with a knife tool. Keep the topology cleaner. It seems like a tiny detail, but details like this are usually that separate a decent model from a convincing one. After that, I extrude the arm. And add a bevel around the shoulder. The shoulder is one of the most flexible part of the body, so giving it extra geometry now help prevent ugly deformation later during the rigging and animation. I do the same thing around the elbow. Up to the point, everything was pretty manageable. Then I got to the hands. For the hands, I place a reference image next to the model and start with a cube. After matching the overall proportion, I added several loop cuts to create a space for the finger. I remove the face where the finger will go and build a structure from there. For each finger, I start with a simple circle. I extrude it, then add another extrusion for the finger tip. One thing I recommend here is working carefully across the multi-type view. A finger might look perfect from the front and completely broken from the side. To help with the bending later, I add a supporting edge around every joint. This extra edge makes a huge difference once the finger starts moving. For the fingernails, I select a few fakes, extrude them slightly and shape them into the place. Then I duplicate the finger and adjust to create the others. For the thumb, I copy part of the finger, rotate it into the position and reshape it using the professional editing. After a quick smoothing pass, I merge the connection point together. Press M at the center. If you are repeating the same action over and over, Shift R can save a surprising amount of time. To improve the deformation around the knuckles, I added a few extra edges using the inset. Those small additions help the hands hold its shape when making it first. Finally, I add a subdivision modifier and do a quick polish, pass in a sculpting mode. I have a clean anatomy reference beside me and I'm trying to stay as close to it as possible. Before going any further, I spend a moment checking the silhouette from both the front and side view. A lot of beginners focus entirely on a topology and forget about the overall shape. Even with a perfect topology, a bad silhouette will still look wrong. It's much easier to fix the proportion problem now than after the entire body is finished. I extrude the vest and began rotating the sum of the loop. Human body aren't built from stacked cylinders. So this is where I start introducing some natural twists into the torso. I extrude this back edge downward and connect them to the front section. These loops are important because they control most of hip and pelvis area. Without them, I'd have very little control when shaping the curves of the body. From here, I keep extruding the lower loops and gradually build the structure around the hips. I'm constantly checking the reference while doing this. The goal isn't to match every detail yet. Right now, I'm just trying to build a solid foundation with enough geometry to work with later. Don't worry too much if it looks messy at this stage. Most character models go through an ugly phase before they start looking good. Right now, I'm focusing on creating enough geometry to support the final shape. After filling the remaining gap, the shape finally starts coming together. Although if you look at it right now, you are probably thinking the same thing I was. That doesn't even look like a butt yet. And honestly, you picked it right. At this stage, it looks pretty awkward. The topology is there, but the volume isn't. And that's exactly why I don't obsess over getting the perfect shape during the modeling stage. The real shape comes later. I switch over to a sculpting mode. First, I smooth the surface to get rid of some of the rough transition. Then I use a grab brush to push and pull the large form into the place. Most of the curve you see here would be difficult to create with the topology alone. Grab lets me shape the larger form much faster. This is where the hips and butt finally start looking actual anatomy. The nice thing about working this way is that I can focus on a clean topology first and worry about the final volume later. A few minutes of the sculpting here can save a lot of frustration during the model stage. Once the major forms are in a place, the whole body immediately starts feeling much more natural. And with that, the body finally finished. It's definitely not perfect, but considering this was my first attempt at the modeling an anime body, I'm pretty happy with this result. And honestly, if you can build something like this as a beginner, you can probably can too.